The following is a presentation of Fox Sports.
Zach Greinke is off to a 1-6 start, but is there more than one angle to that? Is it more than just lack of run support? We'll take a look. Royals baseball is next on Fox Sports Kansas City. The Royals will try to give Zach Greinke some run support, but they'll have to do it against the Angels' Jared Weaver, who's no pushover. He has held the league to a .228 batting average so far. Today is Game 4 between the Royals and the Los Angeles Angels. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Kauffman Stadium with Royals Hall of Famer Frank White. I'm Ryan Lefevre. And last year, even with Zach Greinke winning the Cy Young Award, his lack of run support was an issue, and obviously it's a bigger issue this year. But another topic might be, numbers aside, has Zach Greinke changed on the mound this season?
Well, somewhat, Ryan. I think early in the year he was a lot more aggressive with his fastball and his slider, and then of late he's kind of gone away from his slider, not really having a good feel for his slider. But I think what Zach needs to do now is just go back and trust his fastball, improve his fastball command, and really go back to that signature pitch. That's his slider for the strikeouts.
Strikeouts overall are way down compared to last year. Zach knew that was going to happen. And then, of course, there's the run support, and that's been almost non-existent. 2 starts ago, he didn't get any run support while he was in the game against Colorado. The Royals went on to score 7 in that one. And then, of course, he was the victim of a 1-0 loss in Boston in his last start. Last year, in 2 starts against the Angels, his ERA was below 1, but the Royals just scored 1 run for him in those 2 starts. Zach hoping to get a boost today offensively and defensively from Chris Getz.
Well, Chris Getz hasn't played a lot, Ryan, but when he's been in there, he's really made the team go, and got a couple hits in his last start. And defensively, this is what I like. You know, I'm going to always get excited about defense, but I tell you what, when you come off the bench and play the way he's played and give the team a spark, and that's what manager Nadios is looking for.
Today begins the second third of the baseball season. We'll look back at the first third and the list. The worst swings against the Royals so far in 2010 when we come back. Brought to you today by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. And by Kellogg's, the best to you each morning. And if you've been listening to Fox Sports Kansas City, every now and then when an opposing player has a bad swing, Frank and I say, put it on the list. Well, here is the list from the first third of the season, no particular order. Although this is the first one of the year. Mike Lowell against Zach Greinke. His bat becomes firewood. Luke Hochevar against the Twins' J.J. Hardy. Casey Kochman against Zach Greinke, Kochman of the Seattle Mariners. Grady Sizemore against Brian Bannister. That's worth a second look. Russell Branyan in the same series. Going to mix in a slide here, too. Not really a swing, but how about Juan Pierre's slide into second base, if that's what you want to call it. That made the list. This is Brad Hopp against Robinson Tejeda. I think that was a swing. On the last road trip, Jeremy Hermida against Kyle Davies. And then a late entry last night, Myceris Turris with a rare bad swing against the Royals against Robinson Tejeda. So we're going to go American Idol style here and a take off the Fox show where Frank and I are going to be the judges to get to the finalists, and then at the end of the season we'll let you vote. And here are our three finalists from the first third of the season. And we both agreed on Mike Lowell.
Mike Lowell, yeah. Mike Lowell got reduced to a sword in his hand. And
you liked Casey Kochman.
This one, he's just running away from it. And this is classic.
That's
right
my
here.
favorite.
This
Grady
is classic
Sizemore.
right here.
Late on the swing, and again, we think that was a swing. We're not sure.
We're not sure.
And if we were going to start another list this year, we could also start one for crazy plays in 2010. Remember Carlos Pena going over the railing against the Royals. Dexter Fowler losing his glove. And then last night, Kevin Franzen of the Angels diving into the dugout suite. You can't beat fun at the old ballpark. Stadium, and today's game is in high definition, brought to you by Time Warner Cable, where HD is free with digital cable. Here's the M&I Bank Angels batting order against Zach Greinke today. Eric Ibar will lead off after getting the day off yesterday. Myceris Turris is out. Torrey Hunter was struggling coming into the series, but struggling no longer after getting 3 hits and a home run last night. And Michael Ryan will play at first base. Reggie Willits in left field. Changes from last night. Here's the Kia report on Zach Greinke.
Running number that really stands out is the second time through. The 309er hit against Zach, second time through the lineup. Normally, last year that was better. And the third time through, he just got better also. But the opponents are hitting 306 at the K, and that's also another surprising number when you look at how well he's pitched.
Torrey Hunter with a couple of home runs in his career against Zach Greinke, and then remember that scary moment at the Metrodome a few years ago when Zach hit him in the face with a fastball. And Eric Ibar, who's had a quiet series until now, wastes no time. And now he's thinking about three. Royals have a chance at third base, and they get him. Now I could see out of the corner of my eye when Ibar rounded second base, and before the ball even got to Chris Getz, first base coach Alfredo Griffin threw his arms in the air as if to say, "What are you doing?"
I mean, this ball right here, Ryan, I mean, this is a double here. David gets on this ball very quickly. He has the ball in the air before Ibar even hits second base, and he was a dead duck there at third base. Now that could be a momentum changer right there. I mean, you get a double right away off Zach Greinke on the first pitch, and it could be great for your offense. But you run into the first out at third base. That's against the rules.
And that's not even close.
No, not even close.
I mean, there's the rule of not making the first or last out at third base, and then there's making the first or third out at third base, and it's not even close. 1 ball, 2 strikes now. Zach against Howie Kendrick, who has driven in 3 runs in this series. And that ball's hit hard to center field, but Meyer moves over, and there are 2 down. Here are the Royals defensively today. Pasednik, Meyer, and DeJesus in the outfield. Iaspo and Betancourt on the left side. Chris Getz at second base with Billy Butler. Jason Kendall behind the plate. Chris Getz with an excellent game 2 nights ago at second base, both at the plate where he had a couple of hits, drove in a run, scored a run, and made 2 outstanding plays with the glove. Bobby Abreu last night hit his 17th double of the year. It was the 500th double of his career. He joins very elite company with that 500th double because he also has 250 or more home runs, 350 or more stolen bases. So he joins Barry Bonds, Ricky Henderson, and Craig Biggio. Only 4 players in history that have hit those 3 milestones, at least 500 doubles, 250 home runs, and 350 stolen bases. And a changeup is pulled to the hole. That ball may have hit the lip of the grass and gets away from Getz for an error.
Well, I think you're probably right on that call. I mean, you look at that lip on the back of the grass, and when you're in second base, when you're in the infield, you always got to get with your ground crew and make sure they build that dirt up right to the top of that grass. And that's something you just can't plan for and can't do anything about. It kicks the ball up to the heel of his glove, but that's just part of just going out and really just taking a look at the field every day and just surveying the area. And that's a tough ball to get an error on.
And now 1 strike to Torrey Hunter, who began the series just 1 for his last 12 and had a sore left hand after getting hit by Felix Hernandez on Saturday. But in the first 3 games, Torrey has 5 hits. He had a long home run off of Victor Marte last night, and he has driven in 3 runs. Zach paying close attention to Bobby Abreu as he deals 1-1 to Hunter. 80 beautiful degrees in Kansas City, and we started at 1:10, right on time. Time and temp brought to you by The Parking Spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. The Parking Spot at KCI. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Torrey Hunter. He was last year's Branch Rickey winner, one of the awards that goes to one major leaguer every year, and that award specifically for his work in the community as a role model. 2 seasons before that, he was the Marvin Miller Man of the Year. So awards that go to players not necessarily for what they do on the field, but what they do off the field.
But it's nice to be able to give back to your community, and you got to have that personality, and he has a great personality for that type of work, and he really cares about people, and he really cares about his team also and how they go about their business. And you know, you'd be surprised how you go about, if you go about your business on the field right, it seems like you go about your business in life right, and he's one of those guys that really personifies that.
Three balls, 2 strikes.
I think one of the things to watch on Zach today, Ron, is to watch his fastball, see what type of command he has with it. He's throwing a cutter now and then change up, and just see how long he stays away from his slider.
Now Brayu runs, and that's ball 4. So no damage yet, but it's a shaky first inning for Zach. Remember, one of the outs was a double by Ibar and trying to stretch it into a triple thrown out. Then Howie Kendrick lined to center field. So 2 balls that have been hit hard that have turned into outs, and now an error by Getz and a walk, and 2 on for Hideki Matsui. Matsui with 4 hits, 2 of those doubles. He has driven in 1 run. And Zach misses outside, ball 1. Seems like in his last 2 starts, Frank, we have commented that Zach hasn't been his typical self as far as being aggressive with his fastball and aggressive with his fastball inside.
Well, the one game I go back to is his start in Baltimore, where he pitched a great game, left with a 3-2 lead, and unfortunately he didn't get the win in that game. But in terms of pitching both sides of the plate, keeping guys honest, and being able to use his slider, I think that's where the aggressiveness in Zach don't seem to always be there, and that's like basically what I mean by being aggressive is pitching both sides of the plate.
A little bit high to Matsui, and now the count is 3-0.
If Zach can get this at the top of the zone, that would help him a lot with his 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Got a little life to it at that height. But I think they're going to make him bring him down into a little window, and if you do that, his fastball won't play as well.
Well, a lot of those pitches are close, but as you pointed out before, Frank, if you're all over the place and you're hitting the edges of the strike zone, chances are you're not going to get the calls.
Well, right, you got to find out what the umpire is going to be calling, and once you establish what he's going to be calling, then you get in the umpire zone and you're talking to, Jason Kennel, that you got the pitcher strike zone, you got the hitter strike zone, you got the umpire strike zone, so you have to figure out where the umpire strike zone is and try to get in there.
So a 2 outs, nobody on, an error and 2 walks to Mike Napoli, who hit 8 home runs in May, all 8 of his home runs this year. And now Zach has missed with 5 in a row. On Saturday at Boston, Zach just barely got through 6 innings. He gave up 1 run, 5 hits, but 115 pitches in the 5th inning, and we wondered if he would get through the 5th inning. Remember, he had back-to-back 4-pitch walks, and he's not getting the command he wants with the fastball, so he goes with the slider, and it's 1-1 to Napoli.
And that's a good move. Sometimes you can throw fastball after fastball, and if you're not getting it, just go to an alternate pitch, and that might be enough to bring your fastball back to you.
Well, 97 miles an hour, and that's a number we haven't seen from Zach in a while. In Boston, he was mostly 92, 93.
Well, he's got a good hip turn, and this ball's right on the outside of the plate, and that's a pitch that Mike Napoli's really had a hard time reaching, is that ball that's off the center plate away from him. He likes the ball middle and up a little bit and in.
.99 miles an hour. So Zach appears to be pitching right now like he's mad, maybe mad at himself. And the one who is suffering from that is Mike Napoli, who has seen fastballs at 97 and 99 with the last two pitches. There's the slider, and it's pulled to Callaspo. That thing almost bounced over his head, and the Royals are out of the first inning. M&I Bank. Jason Kendall will hit second again with Mike Aviles out. So Chris Getz is at second base, and Mitch Meyer getting the game off last night with Scott Kazmir on the mound. Meyer is back in center field. Facing right-hander Jared Weaver. Here's the Kia report.
High ERA at the K, 5.09. That's really make the Royals hitters rejoice a little bit. Then one win his last 6 starts, and I guess lefty's hitting 192 now. That's a stat that helps Jared Weaver out quite a bit. And I would look at probably that good slider and good changeup that he has.
Greinke the Great. He needs a little more help to stretch that thing out. Let's hope he is Greinke the Great today. Royals trying to split this 4-game series with the Angels. The Angels have won the last 5 series with the Royals. Scott Pasednik has hit in 5 straight, but just 1 hit in each of the first 3 games. And there's the breaking ball, and it's 0-2 from Weaver to Pasednik. Pasednik with that kind of running bunt slug. Yeah. Still no balls, 2 strikes.
He was running one way and the ball was running another way.
Weaver kind of looking into his dugout over on the third base side, and maybe he is looking for some support. And remember, the question always comes up with 2 strikes. Is that a swing or is that a bunt? Well, if it's ruled a bunt, Pasednik is out. And now the home plate umpire, Mike Estabrook, is going to take matters into his own hands. And I think what Mike Scioscia is saying, hey, how about ask the third base coach? Is that a swing or is that a bunt? Well, it's nice to see Mike Estabrook behind the plate and at odds with someone other than the Royals.
Yeah, he had an eventful time behind the plate his last visit to Kauffman Stadium.
And that was on a controversial bunt play. Remember, he ruled that Chris Getz had gone out of the batter's box when he laid down what looked like a drag bunt base hit to the right side. After all that, Pasednik does strike out. 1 away. The Angels defensively today, and the Angels, believe it or not, they lead the American League with 40 errors. Normally a team that is known for their defense, off to a slow start. Still trying to figure out what to do at first base. It's Michael Ryan today, and Mike Napoli is back behind the plate. Napoli was at first base last night. Jason Kendall, like Scott Pasednik, has hit in 5 in a row, and like Pasednik, has extended that streak with single hits in the first 3 games of this series. Weaver is going to give a right-hand batter, and a left-hand batter for that matter, some very difficult angles. He is 6'7", so he has a lot of leverage with the long arms and the long legs. And then he kind of strides towards the third baseline, throws across his body. So you really have to hang in there if you're a right-hand batter. And the count is 2-2 on Kendall.
Well, he has the ball a long time, and pitches similar to his brother. You know, they both are tall and both throw out at the same type of arm slot, sinkers, good sliders, change-ups.
Just missed down and away, 3-2. Jarrett, a first-round pick of the Angels back in 2004. His older brother Jeff, a former first-round pick of the Tigers. Right to Bobby Abreu. Shifting a little bit towards the line. 2 down in the bottom of the first inning. It's been mostly nothing but a successful career for Jared Weaver since being drafted in the first round. He is 26 games above 500. And he got off to a flying start back in 2006, just 2 years after being drafted in the first round out of Long Beach State. He won his first 7 starts. In fact, he won that 7th one against the Royals and became the first rookie since Fernando Valenzuela back in 1980 to win his first 7 starts. And then he won his first 9 decisions. And that is an American League record, which was once held by Whitey Ford. And we're talking about a long time ago. And that was just in his first year. He was originally called up by the Angels when his brother Jeff was pitching for the Angels. But Jared's call-up meant that Jeff was designated for assignment. So that was the good news, bad news in the Weaver household. The good news is Jared's coming up. The bad news is Jeff no longer has a job. Three balls and 1 strike to David DeJesus.
That would be a tough conversation to have with your brother, wouldn't it?
Well, Jeff got him back last year in interleague play. Those two hooked up, and Jeff beat Jared 6-4. Dodgers over the Angels. David hits it hard, and it gets past Michael Ryan and out into right field. So we'll see how they score it. It's a base hit, and David DeJesus picking up where he left off after that road trip to Boston. Now David has 7 hits in this series.
And he's been hitting the ball square too, Ryan. I think that's the biggest difference. He's just been making solid contact. And when you make solid contact, you get balls like this through the infield. And even though it goes off the end of his glove, it was hit very hard and was a difficult play for Ryan to make.
So David was hitting right at 300 before that base hit. The Royals are playing back-to-back 4-game series. Royals split 4 with the Red Sox. David had 7 hits in that series, and now 4 games with the Angels. And David has 7 in this one. Oh, 0-1 to Billy Butler. Now, Billy, on the other hand, is 1 out of 11. He has driven in a couple of runs. Still having a very good year, but his average is down to 335. That's tied for 5th in the American League. No balls, 2 strikes.
And what you like to see with David, when David is hot in front of Billy, you like to see Billy hot at the same time. He went through a stretch there where the first 2 guys weren't getting on, and he was hitting a lot of times with nobody on base. And then he went through that stretch where they were on, and he was driving in runs. And now David's getting hot again, and now Billy's cold right now. So they just got to get those 2 together, and it'd be just perfect. So we always talk about how the first 3 guys mean so much to the 4th, 5, and 6th guy, and now you got the first 2. I think Kendall and DeJesus swinging the bat pretty good. Then you got Billy and Jose Guillen that aren't swinging the bat very good right now.
Just missed. Well, to attach some numbers to that, Frank, the Royals have lost 4 of their last 5, and over that stretch, Butler is 2 for 17, and Guillen is 2 for 18.
And that'll cost you some RBI in the middle of it. And that accounts a lot of times for your low-scoring games, because that's where your offense usually is, right there in the middle.
Overthrown, 2 balls, 2 strikes. It hasn't been as drastic for Weaver, but he has been a victim of lack of run support this year. He's coming off 3 consecutive no decisions, including Saturday against the Mariners, when he didn't allow a single earned run in 7 innings. Now the Angels won that game 5-1, but they did the scoring after Jared was out of the game. Close play. David, 2 stolen bases. He's been thrown out twice. Three balls, 2 strikes.
No, Split was saying something interesting to me today on the bench. I was asking about starting pitchers and how tough is it to actually win. And he said it's awful tough to win when you're just going 6 innings. He said that's a lot of outs for the bullpen to have to cover. He said it depends on the score when you go out, what the team does offensively after you go out. But he said you look in the paper every day, half the starters don't win. He said they may have 35 starts for the year. If you win half those starts, you had a great year. But you throw a few no decisions in there, and he said the guys that win a lot are the guys that, like Halladay, who pitches, deep in the game, and he limits the bullpen to maybe 6 outs or maybe 3 outs. Where you try to limit the bullpen to 9 outs every time you start, you have a chance to lose the ball game.
That's the flip side of the quality start mentality these days. I mean, a pitcher can go in arbitration and say, well, I was 4th in the league in quality starts. Well, how many games did you win? 11.
Well, that's why I think they should up the quality starts 1 inning. Try to get the guys thinking more 7 innings.
Royals scoreless in the bottom of the 1st. out in the sunlight in right field. Joel.
Well, Ryan, you know, one thing you hear fans asking about all the time is how is Zach Greinke doing with all this run support? Is he angry? Is he upset? And, you know, Zach has been fine. He says that. His teammates say that. And it might surprise people to know that Zach actually studies a lot of those same numbers that Brian Bannister does and Kyle Davies does. And when you study those numbers, you say, look, wins and losses aren't always the best measure for a pitcher. You can't control a lot of things. Control what you can control. Don't worry about the other stuff. And it'll all fall into place at some point, guys.
All right, Joel. Michael Ryan on the second pitch of the inning drives it off the wall in center field. So that's the second straight inning that the Angels have had a leadoff double. In the first inning, Eric Ibar tried to turn it into a triple and was thrown out by David DeJesus and Chris Getz.
Well, Michael Ryan really jumps on this off-speed pitch, Ryan, and really drives it in the deep center field. Mitch plays a nice bounce off the wall, and he does get the ball back to the infield, gets by both cutoff men, but this is where, you know, Billy's got to trail the base runner in this situation, and he's got to be there in the event that ball does get by those two guys.
And now that's into center field, and it's not well hit, so no chance for Mitch Meyer to throw to the plate, and Michael Ryan comes around to score on Franzen's single. And the Angels have a 1-0 lead.
Well, Franz has really been swinging the bat well for the Angels since they instituted him in the game. And this is a curveball at 72 miles an hour, and he just catches it right at the end of the bat, right back through the middle. You see Michael Ryan just the easy score on that ground ball. And Ryan, you hit it right. He just on the end of the bat, wasn't hit very hard and was easy to score.
There's someone out there who has the stats to either back up this comment or prove it wrong, but I would say more times than not this year, Zach just flipping up that curveball to try and get a first pitch strike has been counterproductive as opposed to productive for him this year. That's a fair ball. Kendall down to second base to get the force on Franzen.
Well, Willis tries a sacrifice right here, Ryan. He gets the ball right on the end of the bat and drops right out in front of home plate. Kendall does a good job getting on it and getting a good throw down to second base to Betancourt. Ball it really just sort of backed up and just came right back to Jason. Made this play a lot easier for him.
So no advance. And ball one to Eric Ibar. Went after the first pitch of the game and doubled into the right field corner. Tried to stretch it into a triple, but DeJesus to Getz to Callaspo, and he was out. One ball, one strike.
I was kind of checking with Kevin Shank in the truck on that bunt. It looked like the ball didn't actually get in front of home plate to me. It looked like when it came off his bat, it sort of backed up and came back, and it's just sitting right there on the corner of the plate. So my question is, if the ball is not out in front of home plate, is it a fair ball?
All right, let's bring an instant replay. That's enough. 2 days of this stuff in the game, I can't take it anymore.
No, we don't want to do that.
The ball might have been on the edge of the plate, and what I try and do, if it looks like an umpire missed a call, is try and see what's the umpire's vantage point. Now, he doesn't get the same angle that we got, but Kendall's hand on top of the ball may have made it more difficult for Mike Estabrook to see exactly where the ball was. And, of course, he's behind Kendall. Here's tonight's You Call It, presented by Sprint. And very simple question. This is not about instant replay, but the commissioner has the ability to reverse this call, which would give Armando Galarraga a perfect game. Should baseball reverse the call? A for yes, B for no. Text 432-432, enter keyword Royals. And once again, we're not advocating instant replay. We're not saying that this is something that the commissioner should do on a regular basis, but a special circumstance in the interest of the game. Should Major League Baseball reverse the call from last night? And a pretty powerful moment at Comerica Park in Detroit earlier this afternoon with the Tigers and the Indians playing an hour because of Eastern Daylight Time. Then we started. Jim Joyce getting a standing ovation from most of the crowd that was gathered before the game when the umpires went to home plate. And Armando Galarraga was the one that came out and brought the Tigers lineup card. And a very emotional moment for Jim Joyce, who is working home plate today after that call at first base last night.
Well, you can tell by listening to Jim's comments last night and reading them in the paper. I mean, he was very, very sickening by that decision once he saw that the runner was out. And Jim is one of the nice guys in the game. He's one of the sure professionals in the game, and I really like him a lot. And you feel bad for him at this point.
Look at that, 78%. What do you think? Do you think they should reverse it?
Well, I'm kind of mixed because, there's probably been other instances, and Joel kind of spoke about it in the pregame show, where there's always been suspect calls. Do you go all the way back, and do you bring those up to date at the same time? I think that would be my only concern is how often will this pop up. I just don't want baseball to just change so much that every time an umpire makes a bad call, that if the outcry is out there, that baseball makes a change. I just don't want baseball to change too fast. I have one other question on that too. If the commissioner does opt to go back and change this, do you put an asterisk by it, or do you just act as if it never happened?
No, absolutely. I think there's nothing wrong with saying that, for the first time in baseball, that in the interest of the game, that Armando Galarraga was awarded a perfect game because the office stepped in, because a video replay was the final out of the game, and that's what resulted in his perfect game. It's still a perfect game, but I mean, and we're in the information age these days. So even if you don't put an asterisk next to it, I mean, in the year 3027, they're going to be able to go back and look at it. We're not talking about a record from 1904 where there are hardly any records at all. So there's going to be an asterisk next to it, whether it's actually in the books or not. Willits is out at second base, and the Angels get one in the top of the second. reminder to look for today's Miller Lite Taste Greatness moment later in today's game. Jose Guillen, Alberto Callaspo, and Mitch Meyer in the bottom of the second inning. 0-1 to Jose Guillen. Billy Butler struck out in the first inning. So that means that Butler and Guillen in this series are a combined 3 out of 22. Jose has seen his average fall down to 248. He homered in the game on Tuesday night, his 12th of the year. And he singled very late in the game on Monday afternoon. That ended an 0 for 15. Weaver struck out 2 in the bottom of the first inning. And that ball is off of Napoli's glove. He's going to have a long throw, but still has time to get Guillen. So 3 strikeouts for Weaver and 1 down in the bottom of the second.
Well, you can see what Weaver's fastball just explodes. I mean, he just gets the ball in on those right-handers. Jose again, just with that long swing, had no chance to catch him with that high fastball.
And Jose summed it up the other day. He said, you ever been driving around in your car and you realize you're just completely lost and you don't know where you are? He says, that's about how I feel at the plate right now. A combination of not making contact with pitches that he normally crushes and swinging at a lot of pitches that are out of the strike zone. And now Callaspo rolls it to Michael Ryan, and 2 quick outs for Weaver in the bottom of the second. In case you missed it yesterday during the pregame show, visit FoxSportsKansasCity.com to watch Mark Gubicza tour the Royals Hall of Fame with Jeff Montgomery and Joel. Mark Gubicza reflects on his playing career and relives his fond memories as a Royal. Just click the video tab at the top of the screen at FoxSportsKansasCity.com. Oh and 1 on Mitch Meyer. Mitch is 0 for his last 9. Out of the lineup last night, Willie Bloomquist was in center field. Made 3 very good plays on defense. One ball, 2 strikes. Brand new series for the Royals tomorrow. Bruce Chen will take on the Detroit Tigers. They'll be pitching former MU Tiger Max Scherzer, who recently had a 14 strikeout game. 7:10 with the first pitch tomorrow. And Hy-Vee Royals Live with Joel begins at 6:30.
You know, Max Scherzer, those 14 strikeouts, he only faced 17 guys.
Meyer down on strikes. Weaver retires the side in order, and he has struck out 4 today. Very interesting play to begin the game today. Both teams were happy for a moment. It's our Home Depot defensive play of the game. The Home Depot doing more on defense. And the Angels are happy because they opened the game with an extra base hit. The Royals opened the game with a good defensive play.
That was an outstanding play. That's how relay play is supposed to work. You know, outfielder to the infielder and a one-hop throw to the base to get the base runner.
The Angels' run coming in the second inning when they began the inning with an extra base hit. Michael Ryan doubled, scored on Kevin Franzen's single. Howie Kendrick lined to center field first time up. He'll be followed by Bobby Abreu and Torrey Hunter. Zach Greinke getting out of the second inning with a strike him out, throw him out double play, striking out Eric Ibar. And Reggie Willits gunned down by Jason Kendall for the final out. 2-2 on Kendrick. Look at that. Spider-Man is here at the game today. Still 2-2. This was the foul ball before the one that he came up with, jumping over the railing. Oh no, he did get this one. And scaling the wall to go back to his seat. 3-2 to Kendrick.
Wow, that's a big jump too.
Yeah, but watch him climb the wall on the way back.
How about the guy who thought he had the ball? That guy came from way up there.
And nowadays, you immediately have to tell everyone about it.
Unless you're not supposed to be here.
There's another one in that guy's direction, but he's got his souvenir. He'll just hang out in his seat. Hit hard again to center field, and again there's Meyer. So Howie Kendrick has hit two right on the nose to center field, and both out.
Exactly, just fastball up in the zone, and Howie Kendrick, you see it bending back to Mitch's left, and Mitch came in and made an easy catch of it.
So one away, and now Bobby Abreu. He reached on an error on a ground ball to Chris Getz in the first inning. That did not result in a run for the Angels in the first, but it did result in 15 additional pitches for Zach. And there's another small issue that Zach has had to deal with this year in addition to very low run support. The Royals have not played very good defense behind him. In his loss Saturday at Boston, the Royals committed 3 errors. And now Zach making his 12th start of the year today. The Royals have committed 10 errors in his 12 starts. It has resulted in 5 unearned runs, but the question is how many extra pitches has it resulted in? How many innings has that taken away from Zach?
Well, we counted in his last start. After one error, it cost him 15 pitches before he got out of the inning.
So for him, that's an inning of work.
That's one inning of work.
And 15 pitches today after the error in the first inning, that's an inning of work. Broke his bat, past Zach. Betancourt cuts it off. But Abreu with good speed. No play at first. He'll have an infield single.
you can make good pitches and still give up base hits. Betancourt did all he can do on this play, and Abreu, I mean, when you look at him, you don't think he runs that well. But then when you look up, he's always where he wants to be. And he beats that play easily.
Well, I mentioned it earlier in the series. I mean, he doesn't look like a fast guy, but he has 11 straight seasons with at least 20 stolen bases. He has 9 this year. 0-1 to Torrey Hunter.
You know, Zach makes a great pitch. He breaks a bat and he places it well right up the middle. And you know, Zach probably feels right now he can't get anything right.
Bobby Abreu has 357 career stolen bases. Torrey Hunter fooled, down to the count, no balls, 2 strikes. Torrey walked his first time up.
That was a nice slider from Zach here, Ryan. It just stays tight with it, and it has good arm motion with it, and Torrey got that check swing. You get a little bit more on the plate, up a little higher, and you can get a few more check swings.
Where was that pitch?
Yeah, we take a look at it. Boy, a good run to it. But Fox Track says it's off the plate.
And Jason Kendall didn't appear to be startled when that wasn't called a strike. But now, well, Kendall may have not looked startled, but he's a veteran, so he knows how to communicate with the umpire without anyone else knowing about it. And Ned Yost is ejected for the first time as Royals manager. You know, I don't blame Ned, because from our point of view, Frank, it appears that Kendall didn't do anything, at least anything that was visible, that he was unhappy with the call. So you really don't know there's a confrontation until Mike Easterbrook decides to take his mask off and crouch in front of Jason Kendall and let everyone know there's a problem.
I agree. That's totally the umpire error right there. The catcher should be allowed to ask for pitches, and he should be allowed to ask where this pitch is. And umpires usually will talk from behind, but when you walk around and get in front like he did to Jason Kendall, then that's going to always bring the manager out, and that's always going to tell the umpire, hey, you're wrong. But, I mean, it just wasn't a very professional move by Mike Easterbrook.
And he's still talking to Jason Kendall.
Well, he can't throw.
Right, now
he can't throw the whole team out.
You know, that's about as close to baiting a player and a dugout as I've seen.
Well, I mean, he overreacted to Mike Socia early in the game when he questioned whether it be a bunt or a swing on Pasetnik, and he just. You take a look at the pitch, and you know, Jason Kendall probably said maybe one ball off the plate inside, we could probably get that pitch. He's trying to get something for Zach right here. But, you know, when the umpire just walks around in front like that and get in your face, that's something you never see.
And this is a minor league umpire who is filling in a big league game.
Well, the thing about the minor leagues, and I'm managing down there, those guys are very, very take charge. They tell you to shut up, you know, stay in the dugout. But when you get to this level, you got to understand that you have to make some changes when you get here. You can't run your umpiring in the minor leagues like you do in the major leagues. You got to make that switch.
Now that's brutal. That's wrong. And if Ned Yost gets some sort of a fine or some sort of a suspension that goes with his ejection, it's only fair and it's only appropriate if the league does the same thing to the umpire.
I definitely agree with that.
And this is an umpire that already has a history with the Royals. Broken bat, caught at third by Callaspo. 2 singles, no runs for the Angels. Dr. Bridget McCandless. She left her full-time private practice to devote her time to the Jackson County Free Health Clinic, an organization she co-founded to serve uninsured low-income adults who have chronic medical issues. So she certainly deserves to enjoy the game today in the Buck O'Neil Legacy seat. 1-0 Angels, and Unievsky Betancourt after the first pitch, and Eric Ibar just lost it in the sun. And look at where his sunglasses are.
That's really not acceptable right there from a manager's standpoint, and Mike Scioscia's got to be pretty hot. You know, when you see your infielder out there, you know the sun's up, and he got his glasses on top of his hat rather than over his eyes.
Now, sometimes a player will have the sunglasses on their hat and will take them off if it's one of those days when the sun is in and out of the clouds. It's 0-2 on Betancourt. And so you bring the sunglasses out just in case the sun is visible and creating a glare. And then if it comes back out, you can put your sunglasses back on. I don't know if there's a cloud from here to Joplin. So there really was no reason for him to have them off at all.
Now you go back.
Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. There's one cloud.
You go back to the flip down models. You know, you could just flip them down when the sun came out, and you flip them up when the sun went away. But now he goes to the flip down models. He doesn't stay with the Oakleys that he wore on top of his hat. And those are the kind that everybody wore when I played. Now they got the Oakleys that they wear, and they wear them on top of their hat and put them a lot of places. There's Big John. He's got his dark glasses on. But that's kind of like closing the door after the horses are gone.
So we'll see if Betancourt can take advantage, because Ibar certainly was there. And if he was able to separate the ball from the sun with the sunglasses down, Betancourt is out. All right, grounds it right to Ibar, who gets a second chance. Throws high, and Michael Ryan did not come down on the base. So you got an outfielder playing at first base. You get a bad throw, and he doesn't quite have the feel for what to do on a throw like that.
Well, you're right, Ryan. Once you leave the base, you got to know where the base is when you come back down. He was looking for it, but rather than jumping straight up, he jumped a little bit out to the ball, and when he came down, he was not close to the base. Yeah, Ibar goes from, boy, I got a second chance, and then he throws a high throw, and then compounds his problem.
He's only charged with one error. Chris gets, and remember, as Chris bunts and as he goes towards first base showing bunt, it was Mike Estabrook earlier in the season that ruled that Chris was out of the batter's box, which he wasn't, and laid down a perfect bunt to the right side. But Chris told me before the game today that the very next day, Mike Estabrook, who had looked at the replay, realized he was wrong and apologized to Chris, took a base hit away from him. One ball, one strike.
Well, when we saw that play, you're allowed to have that foot in the air across that line, as long as you don't come down on top of the plate or on the other side of the batter's box before you bunt the ball. And we sort of disputed that call when it first came up.
There was also a long argument in that same game. You remember Jose Guillen appeared to foul a ball off of his leg, but the umpiring crew, and Estabrook was behind the plate, ruled that there was no contact made, so it was a strikeout to Guillen. So it wasn't a very good night for him behind the plate that night. And he has been in screaming matches with both managers already today, and we're not even through the third inning. He has ejected Ned Yost, and he has gotten into an argument with Mike Scioscia. That's the crew chief, Mike Winters, who is at second base. And he was nowhere to be found when Ned Yost and Mike Estabrook were chewing on each other, a situation that was clearly started by the home plate umpire. getting in Jason Kendall's face, calling time to get into his face when nobody in the ballpark except for the catcher, the umpire, and the hitter knew that there was a conversation going on. Betancourt is picked off.
Well, Weaver kept getting closer and closer, and Yuniesky made no adjustment. When a guy shows you the kind of mood that Weaver just showed, you got to shorten up a little bit or get a one-way lead where you're just going right back to the base on his first move.
3 balls and 1 strike. Two nights ago, Chris Getz, 2 hits, a double, a run scored, an RBI, and 2 excellent plays on defense. 3 balls and 2 strikes. That is the 5th strikeout of the game for Jared Weaver. So he comes back from 3-1, and there are 2 down in the 3rd. Well, the Tigers are in town tomorrow night, and after the game, it's the KC Sky Show, a special effects, video, music, and mind-bending magic and fireworks spectacular. It's 5 times the length of a regular Fireworks Friday. It will feature master illusionist Michael Grandinetti. And it's brought to you by Hy-Vee, Pepsi, and 106.5 The Wolf. So 2 down to Scott Posednik. He struck out swinging in the 1st inning. And now a fly ball to very shallow center field. And that will drop in between Torrey Hunter and Howie Kendrick. So Posednik is 1 for 2, and that gives him a 6-game hitting streak. And now Mike Napoli wants to go out and have a visit with Weaver before they pitch to Jason Kendall, who is 0 for 1 at the plate. But behind the plate today, he has thrown out 2 runners on the bases.
He's done a good job right here. He jumps out in front of the plate on a bunt attempt by Willits to get Franzen going down to second base. And here, it just throws Willits out. That was easy. I mean, Willits had great speed, too, and he was thrown out by a lot. David, I mean, you look at Jason right there. He's just being a true professional right there. He's probably saying what he needs to say without looking up at Estabrook.
The result of that argument was Ned Yost being ejected for the first time as Royals manager. Ned Yost, who had a major league career as a catcher. I'm sure from his vantage point that was completely uncalled for. So it didn't take him very long to recognize bad baseball etiquette, and he got out there to protect his catcher.
Well, 2 things umpires will let you do. If the catcher talked and don't look around, they will let you get away with that. If you're a hitter and you're questioning a call, a pitch, then as long as you just kept looking down at the ground or looking out toward the pitcher, if they let you say what you had to say, as long as you didn't, like you say, nobody knows who's doing the talking. You just ask him, is it off the plate, on the plate? I thought it was a ball, I thought it was a strike. And they will answer you. But if you turn around and look at them, then they usually get offended by that. But I've never seen umpires jump around in front of a catcher like Estabrook did right there.
And nobody knew anything was going on. I mean, I had made the comment, it looked like that Kendall wasn't disputing the call that much. He had a little vibration to his body because of frustration in that he didn't get the call, but he didn't drop his shoulders, he didn't drop his head, he didn't show up the umpire.
Well, catchers do it all the time. I mean, they always talk to umpires. If they think the pitcher is hitting the glove, and they try to get the umpire in the where their pitcher's throwing the ball. They'll say, well, it's on the plate, off the plate, give me a little better look, whatever it might be. But to be that offended by it, you don't usually see that too often.
Jared Weaver has struck out 5 Royals already. And he nearly picked off Scott Posednik after picking off Yuniesky Betancourt earlier in this inning. There have been so many throws over to first base that the area around first base looks like a beach. So it might be more difficult for the runners to get some traction over there. And Posednik taken off. Napoli's throw almost ends up in center field. Posednik gets his 17th stolen base.
Yep, see, that's a stolen base that Scott Posednik earned right there. I mean, he has a couple of close calls at first. He gets a great jump. You can see this throw just starting to run back down towards first base. It made it a lot easier for him to get in there.
It's interesting, Posednik has that little guard on his hand so he doesn't injure his fingers diving in head first, but he went in feet first with that stolen base. So the first runner in scoring position for the Royals against Weaver. And Kendall ahead in the count, 3-1. Full count. So right at 50 pitches, 17 in this inning. Ball 4, and that's Weaver's first walk. And he doesn't walk many. That's only the 21st for him this year. So 2 on, 2 out. Mike Butcher goes to the mound, and we take a look at today's league leaders, brought to you by your Kansas City area Toyota dealers. American League strikeout to walk ratios, and 2 of the best are in there today. Zach Greinke and Jared Weaver, right around the same, 3.86 to 3.70. Look at Cliff Lee, 12.5 strikeouts for every walk. So he is all by himself with Shields, Pavano, Greinke, and Weaver after him. Zach so far today, 2 strikeouts and 2 walks. So the Royals trying to put something together after 2 out and nobody on. And David DeJesus, who singled in the first inning and has 7 hits in the series, comes up with Posednik at second base and Kendall at first. And he goes with a changeup for strike 1. That was a rare base hit for David against Jared Weaver. He had been just 3 out of 17 prior to that base hit, and that's just 176. One ball, 1 strike. And we've talked about Weaver's long levers. He is 6'7", all the difficult angles, and you figure that's a nightmare for a right-hand batter. But actually, he's done better against left-hand hitters this year. They're not even quite to 200 against him this season. While righties, that's a little bit of a surprise that with everything he has going for himself with those angles, that they're hitting as high as 261 against him.
Well, I agree with that. He's got that good running fastball that moves down and away from lefties, and he throws that changeup right at the same arm slot, and that makes it difficult to hit also.
With 2 outs, Posednik reached with a bloop single. Kendall walked. Big, slow breaking ball, and DeJesus looked like about 2 or 3 different times he thought about swinging at it, but took it for a strike.
Well, look at his body. He throws the ball right across his body, and he probably picks it up late and drops it right at the bottom of the strike zone. Outstanding pitch.
Hole to Michael Ryan, who makes a nice backhand play to Weaver, and the Royals lead 2 in the 3rd inning. One to nothing Angels to the 4th inning. And here is today's Roadrunner Turbo speed pitch comparison. Zach Greinke appeared to be angry with himself in the top of the 1st inning after a 4-pitch walk, and he got it up to 99 miles an hour. That was after a 97-mile-an-hour pitch. You can double your speed with Roadrunner Turbo from Time Warner Cable. The Angels run coming in the 2nd inning. Kevin Franzen single, bringing Michael Ryan around to score. And Michael Ryan leading off. It was his double that got the 2nd inning going. Normally an outfielder, and the Angels have a need at first base with Kendry Morales down. So Michael Ryan has gotten a couple of shots over there. Mike Napoli, their regular catcher, has played a couple of games at first. Rob Quinlan was just called up. He has gotten a game there. The Royals have seen quite a bit of Michael Ryan, but it's been a while. He is from the Twins organization, drafted in '96, so he's been a professional now for 14 years. And Zach picks up his 3rd strikeout. Before and after every game here on Fox Sports Kansas City, we hope you'll join us for Royals Live as Joel Goldberg brings you the latest Royals news and breaks down the game's action with Paul Splittorff and Jeff Montgomery. For complete Royals pre- and post-game coverage, tune into Royals Live on Fox Sports Kansas City. And now strike one on Kevin Franzen. Singled in Michael Ryan in the 2nd inning. He is 12 out of 26, so hitting .462 until David DeJesus runs down that fly ball. And a couple of quick outs for Zach in the 4th. Zach hasn't had an easy inning yet. He faced 6 in the 1st inning and made 15 additional pitches because of an error. He faced 4 in the 2nd, allowed a run, 5 in the 3rd, and threw 20 pitches in that inning. So he could use a 3-up, 3-down. And he jumps ahead of Reggie Willits. Reached on a fielder's choice when he tried to lay down a sac bunt, didn't get it far enough away from the plate. Jason Kendall went down to 2nd for a force out, and then later in the inning, Willits was caught stealing. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Two and two. Reggie Willits out of the University of Oklahoma. Number 77. You don't see that number very often. His favorite number growing up was 7, even though he's not old enough to remember him playing. If you grow up in Oklahoma, you know who Mickey Mantle is. But when he got to the Angels, that number was taken, so he went with 77. Mickey Hatcher, the Angels' longtime batting coach, is number 7. And a nice play. Brought his glove and his binoculars. And he's got his own section. Now Willits is down on strikes, and Zach has 4. And his first easy inning of the afternoon. Coming up on Saturday, the first 20,000 fans will get one of those hats. No, they're going to get a Brett Saberhagen bobblehead, courtesy of Fox Sports Kansas City. It's the Royals and the Tigers on Saturday at 6:10. Saberhagen holding his 2 Cy Young awards that he won with the Royals. Billy Butler opens up the bottom of the 4th inning and fouls the first pitch away from Jared Weaver. Billy struck out in the first. Weaver has 5 strikeouts. The Royals' best scoring opportunity was the 3rd. The Angels committing an error. Royals getting a single from Pasednik, a walk from Kendall, but Weaver got out of it. So Billy just 1 out of 12 in this series with the Angels. And that's a perfect pitch. No balls, 2 strikes.
Well, you hit it right on the nose, Ryan. That's a perfect pitch. And that's a pitch that's hard for anybody to hit. You got to be looking for this ball to actually do something with it.
The Angels say that Weaver has truly pitched like an ace, and the Angels were looking for that after John Lackey left via free agency and went to the Boston Red Sox. And just about every time that Weaver has taken the mound, he's gone up against the other team's ace. And he's done it again today, going up against Zach Greinke. A couple of starts ago, it looked like Weaver was going to get a break. He was scheduled to match up with Ian Snell of the Mariners. But the rotation was not read correctly by the Angels. And as it turned out, he went up against Felix Hernandez. That was on Saturday against the Mariners. Billy is out on a ground ball to 3rd. So he is 0 for 2 and now 1 out of 13.
Well, take a look at this delivery here. You see he gets a good turn. Gets a real good hip turn, but rather than taking that leg directly to the hitter, he takes it almost behind the right-handed hitter. And with him standing on the right side of that rubber, it's almost like he's bringing the ball from behind the right-handed hitter. And that really just makes that deception real hard. And to be able to throw across your body like that and not have lower back problems or shoulder problems is just amazing to me.
Not yet. 1 ball, 1 strike on Jose Guillen. Well, at 6'7", 205, he is still pretty skinny and appears to be very flexible. So maybe that's working for him now at 27 years old. But if he's still pitching in his mid-30s, all that torque that's involved with that pitching motion could catch up with him. We hope it doesn't. That's the pitch he got Guillen to chase in the second inning. Jose striking out and is 2 for 11 in this Angels series. He got him to chase the slider down and away. So Weaver is on. He has struck out 6, and Guillen continues to struggle.
I just don't think Jose's picking these sliders up. When you see he's swinging well before the ball gets to the plate, he's already committed himself, and he's just having a hard time picking up the breaking ball.
So Weaver in 3 2/3 innings, showing the Royals why the league was hitting just .228 against him in his first 11 starts. Royals with 2 hits. A change up in ball 1 to Alberto Callaspo. Alberto rolled out to the first baseman Michael Ryan in the second inning. .70 miles an hour. 1 ball, 1 strike. There are certain pitches, and I'm not kidding when I say that you'd think high school hitters would have a better time hitting it than major leaguers. I mean, how often do these guys see 70 miles an hour?
Not very often, Ryan.
As Turris, or rather Ibar, runs out and retires Alberto Callaspo, and down go the Royals in the 4th. Estabrook ejected Ned Yost after Estabrook seemed to challenge Jason Kendall at home plate right in the middle of an at-bat.
Well, it's the responsibility of a manager. When you see the umpire getting on your catcher, he's going to go out there and he's going to fight for him. And I think that was perfectly legitimate on Ned Yost's part to go out there and really you hate to see managers throw out a game, you hate to throw out a game, but that's one case there where you got to go all the way and fight for your guy, and he did a good job there.
Through the right side, Eric Ibar has his second hit, but this is the first time he will actually stay on base. He opened the game with a double, tried to stretch it into a triple, and the Royals threw him out. When the Royals have faced the Angels over the past couple of years, and that hasn't been a very fun experience, it has been Ibar and Izturis setting the table for the meat of the order, getting on base, using their speed, taking extra bases. But in the first 3 games, Ibar and Izturis were just 3 out of 21, so the Royals were pitching them well. Howie Kendrick with a tough luck 0 for 3 today. That's the 3rd time he has lined to the outfield.
It's like every fastball Zach throws up there, he's right on it.
So 1 on, 1 out, and now Bobby Abreu. Reached on a Chris Getz error in the first inning, and then an infield single in the 3rd. Bobby Abreu last year picked up his 2,000th career hit. And then after getting his 500th double last night, joining a very elite group. Barry Bonds, Ricky Henderson, and Craig Biggio. And now Bobby Abreu, only 4 players in Major League history with at least 500 doubles, 250 home runs, and 350 stolen bases. Three balls and no strikes. Zach has 2 walks. One of them on 4 pitches. In fact, back-to-back walks in the first inning. 3 balls, 1 strike. He only had 14 walks prior to this game, and that was the 5th best walk to inning pitch ratio in the American League. Billy Butler was kind of playing in between the bag and Ibar, so no chance to tag out Ibar, but Zach Greinke wanting to keep him close. He has 7 stolen bases this year. He's also been thrown out 5 times.
Well, he cut him to take a step as if he was stealing right there and caught him on that front foot and then give that best move over to first base.
Now he's running, and Abreu fouls it away.
You know, a lot of pitchers, when they throw to first base, sometimes they throw over as a courtesy, but that one time they throw over as a courtesy, it's not really their best move, and that's the best time to pick a guy off. You got him taking that first step, and that would have made a difference right there. You know, Jared Weaver, when he goes over there, he's going over to pick you off.
Running again, and Abreu fouls it away again. Angels are 7th in the American League in stolen bases. Not first, not second, not even 3rd. So they are way down there. And they've only had 2 in the 4-game series so far. Of course, they're without Sean Figgins, who is now with the Mariners. So the stolen bases are down. The team batting average is down. The team ERA is up. And the Angels with an error today. They have committed the most errors in the American League, 41. It just doesn't seem possible with the way the Angels have played the last 6 years. Again, Ibar runs, and again, it's fouled away. The Angels have won the American League West Division the past 3 years, and 5 out of the last 6.
Yeah, Ibar sent He's wanting to be able to hit the ball. He walks all the way back from second base rather than jog back. He's gone down there 3 or 4 straight times. He's winded on a warm day like today. And guess what? He's got to go again.
And he does. Swung on and missed. And this time the Royals do not get the strike him out, throw him out double play. Zach strikes out his 5th. There are 2 down. Ibar has his 8th stolen base. Torrey Hunter coming up, and let's find Joel Goldberg.
Well, Ryan, it's oftentimes a bit of a homecoming for Torrey Hunter when he comes here. Of course, he grew up in Arkansas, but he's got a lot of family that's moved over to Kansas City. He was telling me the other day that the first game of the series, about 17 tickets. The second game, 12. He said there's been times in the past where it's been up to 40, but he's told the family now at this point that, listen, I got to pay for these tickets, so we're going to limit it to the family members, the cousins, the uncles, the aunts. No more bringing your gardener. No more bringing the guy from the casino. No more bringing the mailman. Just the family. I was walking out of the stadium last night a good hour after the game, and nobody was out there except for Torrey Hunter right outside the stadium and his aunt and uncle, guys.
At one time, Torrey had 5 uncles who lived here in Kansas City. And now I think that is down to 3. And believe me, he takes care of his family. He has built homes for all 3 of his brothers, for his mother, his grandparents. He paid for 2 of his brothers' college education. And we talked earlier in the game about how he gives back to the community, winning the Branch Rickey Award last year. In 2007, he was the Marvin Miller Man of the Year. And he pounds that into deep left center field. And Torrey Hunter has hit a 2-run home run into the drink. That is his 3rd career home run against Zach Greinke.
Well, Zach tries to get this ball to the outside, Ryan, but this is a cutter. He left right in the center of the plate, 88 miles an hour, and Torrey Hunter didn't miss it. He got all of this ball well into the left center field, well into the water fountain.
That is the 6th home run of the series for the Angels and the 2nd for Torrey Hunter. And the Angels have always been known as a team that has had balance on offense. And the only balance they've had this year is that they have been slow out of the gate, but now becoming a home run hitting team. That is their 59th home run of the season. Matsui singled back in the 3rd inning, walked in the 1st. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Yeah, just take a look what Kendall wants this pitch, Ryan. You see how the ball runs back right to the middle of the plate, and Torrey Hunter was sitting there waiting on it.
Now Matsui with a 2-hit game. A couple of hitters that were scuffling before the series began. Torrey Hunter, who was just 1 for 12. And now Hunter has 6 hits, 2 home runs. And Hideki Matsui was hitting .229, and now he has 6 hits. So Bob McClure out to see if Zach's all right with the Royals down 3-0 in the 5th inning. We remind you, if you're 25 years old or older, you have a chance to enjoy a unique Major League experience here at Kauffman Stadium. The Royals alumni will conduct their annual fans batting practice day on June the 12th. And for $300, you can take batting practice on the field with former Royals offering instruction, and they will pitch to you. And you can stay on the field to take fly balls and ground balls. You'll get a pair of shorts, a T-shirt, and 4 tickets to a Royals game. For information, call 816-504-4150. So 8 hits for the Angels in less than 5 innings. Mike Napoli 0 for 2 so far. He did line out to 3rd his last time up. Napoli has driven in 4 in the series. Two balls and 1 strike. The home run allowed by Zach is his 9th of the year. And he has done that well before the All-Star break, which is right around the midpoint of the season. Last year, and of course it was an exceptional year, but Zach allowed 11 home runs all season. And now he's given up 9. 2-2 on Matsui. Still 2 balls, 2 strikes. Matsui not a threat to go anywhere. He has not attempted a stolen base. And he has had both of his knees operated on in the last 3 years. Did Napoli go on the slider? No swing. Brian Runge is the umpire at first base. And now Matsui will take off with a full count and 2 down. Struck him out. That's 6 for Zach, but he gives up a home run to Hunter, and the Angels lead 3-0. A day are switching to Chevy. See your Kansas City area Chevy dealer. So Torrey Hunter with 2 home runs in the last 2 games, and the Angels with a 3-0 lead behind Jared Weaver, who has given up only 2 hits in 4 innings, and he has struck out 6. The Royals will send up Mitch Meyer, Unievsky Betancourt, and Chris Getz. Meyer struck out swinging at a fastball in the 2nd inning, and now Mitch is 0 for his last 10. It has been almost a month since the last time Jared Weaver won. It was May the 7th at Seattle. He got a lot of run support in that one. They won 8-0. 1-2 on Mitch.
Jared Weaver's done a real good job, Ryan. Early it was fastball slider. Now he's mixing in his changeup and his slow curveball. And then he followed it with that good fastball. And Mitch just didn't have a good swing at that fastball.
You could also see where, there's plenty of velocity there, obviously, with the fastball, but even with all of his angles, that's an advantage, but he's kind of slow and deliberate. He can almost put the hitter to sleep, and then here comes the fastball. This time it's a changeup at 79 miles an hour, so Meyer is out in front, and it's a 7-strikeout game for Weaver. Here's today's AT&T trivia question. Who holds the Royals record for most consecutive innings without allowing a home run? Betancourt drives it into the left field corner and off the bottom of the wall. So the Royals' first extra base hit, and the second time the Royals have had a runner at second base.
For we believe the fastball in, the Betancourt just goes right into his bat. He just turns on his ball and probably ended up on the inside part of the plate, but he wanted it away, but he left it inside. He turned on it, got it down in the corner, and then that was the easy double for Yuniesky Betancourt.
Oregon man, Yuniesky Betancourt is safe at second base. Safe and secure, New York life. And now Chris Getz. He was a strikeout victim first time up. .67 miles an hour.
His back-to-back curveball. He's pulling out all stops right now.
One and two. Got any thoughts on the trivia question? Most consecutive innings without a home run. How about Mark
You got to think.
Gubicza?
You got to think inside the stadium first,
Yep.
right?
How about Mark Gubicza?
He can go with Paul Splitoff, or he can go with Jeff Montgomery.
Still 1 and 2 on Getz.
I'm going to go with Split.
Okay. And the answer is almost half a season from the end of one to the middle of the next.
Threw a lot of sinkers.
134 and a third innings.
That's impressive.
And speaking of Mark Gubicza and Paul Splitoff, I think Gubicza was trying to get someone's attention over in Joel's suite. Of course, Monty and Split are both in there with T.J. McGinnis. Right side and through, a base hit. Betancourt will be held at third. And that was a good choice as Abreu was on it quickly and got it back to the infield. So first and third and one out.
Well, Chris Getz contributes again here, Ryan. This is another curveball. He waited well on it, pulled it in the hole, and it just hits the ball way too hard. Abreu really charged this ball very well. And with one out, then Eddie Rodriguez decided to play err on the side of caution in this situation.
Interesting, too, in the first inning, Getz was charged with an error on a ball that hit the lip of the outfield grass. And on that ground ball into right field, you can see what the ball will do on what is just a routine roller to the right side. It popped up when it hit the lip. So first and third for Scott Posednik. 1 for 2 today. He has a 6-game hitting streak. And again, Weaver slower than slow, 69 miles an hour for strike one.
Yeah, that's what I would do if I'm the infielder tomorrow. I would get with the groundskeeper. I'd get with Trevor and see if they could move that dirt back up against that grass and build it a little higher so that ball won't come up like that.
From 69 to 91, and I'm sure it seemed faster than that to Posednik. Talking about a 21-mile-per-hour differential.
Well, he definitely switched gears here in this inning, Ryan, and going with more all-speed, change up, 2 different speeds on his curveball, and then you throw that 95-mile-an-hour fastball behind it.
And Posednik chases one up around his eyes. 8 strikeouts for Weaver, and Posednik not ready to leave the box yet. So now it's up to Jason Kendall. So 8 strikeouts in less than 5 innings. That is not, by the way, a season high for Weaver. In fact, it's the 4th time this year he's had 8 strikeouts or more. His season high is 12. And that was against the Rays back on May the 12th. Backhanded at third by Franzen, down to second base. And man, is he having a great series. So the Royals leave 2 more in the 5th inning against Weaver. A yes, B no. Very simple. 72% say yes, 28% say no. Major League Baseball is looking at that call, and there was an official release from Commissioner Bud Selig, which basically says he's looking at the call. Shallow right field. David trying to angle away from the sun, and retires Michael Ryan, who is 1 for 3. So here's part of the statement from Commissioner Bud Selig. Given last night's call and other recent events, I will examine our umpiring system, the expanded use of instant replay, and all other related issues. Great. Joel, your thoughts?
Well, first off, in reading a lot of the national writers who have been following this and talking to sources, as Caspo is going to let that ball, unfortunately, go fair, and it's going to be a base hit. But most of the writers and the consensus around the country right now seems to think that nothing's going to be done. There is going to be no reversal, so you'll have that whole statement from Bud Selig. But, we've been debating it up here in the booth, guys, as well, too. And on the pregame show, Frank, you heard it before. And Monty is part of that group of that 72% that say, you know what, you could change that call. It's the end of the game. But, Monty and I had a good discussion, and he said he's probably one of a gazillion players in the past that was involved in a call at the end of a game that ended up going against him. And he was in a game where there was a blown call, and the next pitch, he lost it on a home run. And to me, at least my opinion is, if you're going to go back and change the last play of that game, you've got to look at every single other potential perfect game, no-hitter, games that were decided, wins and losses in those situations. There's a lot of big moments in the history of the game, including one here in 1985, guys.
Well, that's true, but at the same time, television cameras were catching missed calls around the NFL for years before instant replay came into play, and they didn't go back and change all of those. I mean, it has to do with, if the commissioner comes in and says, with the best interest of the game, I'm going to reverse that call, and from this point forward, I'm going to establish that under Rule 17B/4 that the commissioner has the power to do that. As Willits hits it off the end of the bat, Franzen will be held at third. Willits has a double, so runners at second and third, and one out. So, yeah, there'll probably be some frustration from some people, and I'm not saying he should reverse it, but if he would just maybe tear a page out of Roger Goodell's book and basically say, I'm the commissioner, this is what we're doing. If you have any problems, you can call my secretary. Nice talking to you.
The question, of course, ends up being, if you're going to do instant replay to a greater extent in baseball, when do you use it? How much does it slow the game down? Is it early in the game? Is it late in the game? If this thing happened in the third inning last night, the whole country wouldn't be talking about it. Maybe some of the more baseball diehards will be talking about it. And I talked to Jason Kendall today about it. And first off, he was adamant Jim Joyce is one of the best, if not the best, umpires in all of the big leagues. He said he couldn't have said enough good things about him. But he said, you know what? Baseball's an everyday game. People have always made mistakes. They're going to make mistakes. It's part of the game, and it's America's pastime. So he at least felt like, you don't need to change anything.
Well, Joel, I'm going to be in your corner on this. I really think that the game needs to keep that human part of it. I think part of this game that makes it great is those judgment calls, those quick calls, and unfortunately those missed calls. And I think that's why we're talking about it so much today, is because there was a call that went against a perfect game. And I think if we change too much too soon, then we might as well take the umpires out of the equation altogether and just put we got the Fox tracks, which can put a grid in front of home plate, so they just put them on the corners and don't use umpires at all.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Ibar. Well, if I can jump in here, I don't think there's necessarily a relation between making an isolated call and having to come up with a whole policy of instant replay. And I agree with you, Frank, about the human element. But at the same time, television, the very thing that we're doing today, has taken a lot of the human element out of the game, because we can show you 7 shots of one play, and 6 of those shots are angles that the umpire doesn't even have access to. And let's face it, I mean, instant replay didn't start in the NFL just because they wanted to get the call right. They had to do it because television had evolved so much that the officials were looking bad out there. There were so many missed calls that nobody even noticed in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s that finally they had to do something to protect the guys that are wearing the black and white stripes out there.
That's a good point, Ryan. I mean, obviously with HD now and all the different angles you mentioned, that's more than what was here 20 or 25 years ago. Of course, there was instant replay 20 or 25 years ago. Everybody knew when calls were messed up then, and it's just always kind of been part of the game. I guess my biggest thing would be they're complaining so much about the game being too slow right now. How would that work? Would you have a challenge system? And then if you had a challenge system, what if Jim Leland were out of challenges last night? Would it have been his fault that he burned one early in the game? What would you challenge? What couldn't you challenge?
Well, baseball is such a sophisticated game that you have so many different things that can come up in the rule book. You challenge everything that comes up. I mean, I think the best thing that they do is if they get together and they talk about it, and they, between the umpires themselves, make a change. I think that's sort of, to me, that's kind of like getting it together and getting it right. But I don't know. I just really feel like Jim Joyce, if you listen to his statement, he said, I absolutely thought I made the right call until I saw replay. Mm-hmm. So, to me, that's baseball. I mean, that's what this game is built on. And I think these guys, they have to know so much to be an umpire. They have to know the whole rule book. They know more about the rules than most managers. And I think that to take that away from the game because of instant replay, then I think they wouldn't work as hard to get it right.
Keep voting at 432-432. Enter keyword Royals. And again, we're not asking you whether there should be a total overhaul with the replay system that's in place, but should Major League Baseball, for the good of the game, should the commissioner, for the good of the game, reverse this call as an isolated incident and not worry about cans of worms and all that kind of stuff? Text 432-432. Enter keyword Royals. I mean, even that because there's instant replay now in the game, you're taking the human element out. Because why do we have instant replay now and we didn't years ago? That's because people were coming down so hard on the umpires when they would miss a call that they can't see from 200 feet away. But we have cameras now that can zoom in and make you feel like you're 2 feet away.
Well, then that's why when you get into the playoffs and the World Series, they go with the extra umpires down the line so they can help see that ball that goes over the foul pole or just around the foul pole, which is up by third base. Is a little hard to see.
I thought maybe, the most disappointing thing about it all, too, was just, and I understand the backlash, fans, some of the media. I mean, I've heard even people calling for Jim Joyce to be fired, which is absolutely ludicrous. I mean, this guy is so highly regarded. And, I was talking to a player that's in this game today that said, look, if it were somebody else like a Joe West type, there'd be a little bit more backlash from the players that don't necessarily like him as much. But everybody really likes Jim Joyce.
That is not. The runner at the plate is safe. Alberto Callaspo stepped on third before he threw to the plate, so the runner at third is out, and that eliminated the force. And apparently Jason Kendall didn't recognize that because he needed to tag out Kevin Franzen. So the Royals get the second out at third, but the run scores.
Well, I think that's the difference right there, Ronnie, is the fact that he did touch the base first. That's an out right there, so this runner has to be tagged. It's sort of like
well, Mike Esterbrook called him out and then said safe when he looked down at the third base umpire, Hunter Wendelstedt.
It's kind of like with the runner on first base, and the first baseman tagged the base first before he throws the second, then the shortstop or second baseman have to tag that runner out.
So it's a 5 unassisted fielder's choice and an RBI for Howie Kendrick, and 4-0 Angels.
You can see there where Alberto Callaspo actually, when that left foot came down right in the midst of throwing.
So it could have been a double play because there was plenty of time to tag out Franzen. And now the runners move up on a double steal. Ibar with his second stolen base of the game, his 9th of the year, and Howie Kendrick with his 5th of the year. Bobby Abreu has reached on an air. He has an infield single, and he has struck out. 2 balls and 1 strike. All right, to sum it up, Frank, instant replay expanded, yes or no?
No.
Joel?
No.
Ryan? No.
Wow. Well, while we're here, too, we'll just get the quick yes or no. I'll jump around the room. Instant replay split, yes or no?
Modified.
Modified. We'll find out what that means in a minute. Monty?
I'm thinking no.
All right, so we got 4 no's and 1 modified. What's in between? What does that mean?
Expanded, but not unlimited.
Okay.
Got that?
So basically not a across-the-board challenge system where you could challenge everything. Abreu lines it to right, but it's right at DeJesus. The inning is over. The Royals fail to turn a double play, and the Angels tack on another one. Four to nothing Angels to the bottom of the sixth inning. Coming up on Sunday, the first 8,000 fans aged 14 and under will receive a Build-A-Bear Polar Bear brought to you by the Kansas City Zoo. Then after the Royals take on the Tigers at 1:10, it's the 6th annual Faith and Family Celebration with a special concert by American Music Award nominated Jeremy Camp. Royals.com or 1-800-6-ROYALS if you want to get your tickets right now. Eddie Rodriguez is managing the Royals, and you say, well, how's he going to do that from the third base coach's box? Well, that's what they do in the minor leagues.
You have to do it all.
Ed Yost has been ejected, and John Gibbons is away at his daughter's graduation. David DeJesus, Billy Butler, and Jose Guillen coming up. 1-1 on David, singled in the first inning and grounded out hard to the first baseman Michael Ryan in the third. Jared Weaver with 1 walk and 8 strikeouts. Slow breaking ball is lifted to center. The ball is carrying. And Torrey Hunter running and shading his eyes at the same time and runs it down. Replay returns with an all-new season. After 11 years, Gatorade reunites two high school rivals looking to finally settle the score. Don't miss the documentary premiere June the 20th, 9 p.m. Check your local listings. Billy Butler has struck out, grounded out, 0 for 2 today, 1 for 13 in the series. And that's hit hard to center field. Hunter back again, and he's got this one. So a couple of long, loud outs, and 2 down in the bottom of the 6th inning. Today's copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Kansas City Royals. They may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation. Ryan Lefevre with Frank White and Joel Goldberg, with producer Kevin Schenk, director Steve Kurtenbach, associate producers Al Broughton and Sam Abramson, and the producer of Royals Live is TJ McGinnis. 1 ball, 1 strike to Jose Guillen, who's having an awful time against Jared Weaver today. Guillen was 8 out of 18 against Weaver before the game. That's .444. But today, 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. And right now, he is stuck in that swinging at the balls and taking the strikes.
Yeah, and you're also stuck in that being too slow for the fastball and too quick for the breaking ball. And that's a dangerous place to be also. I think it's just a matter, especially on the breaking ball, it's like he's just not picking it up. He's just getting out there so fast because of the fastball. And any breaking ball away, his body's already committed, and he just got his hands and he's got to reach with those. You don't have any bat speed.
Wouldn't chase it. Weaver got him with a fastball just like that one in the 2nd inning. Rob Quinlan taking over at first base with 2 strikes and 2 outs. That was quick. I didn't even notice that. Still 2-2.
A lot of times,
usually a first baseman comes in before the inning begins, but he just slipped out there with 2 outs and 2 strikes.
You can also take a look at Jose's first step, his front foot. He's been pounded inside so much, and first that pulls out, and then the ball's away. It makes it hard to reach.
Kyle Farnsworth warming up in the bullpen. Zach Greinke at 116 pitches in 6 innings. And remember, we go back to the air in the 1st inning, which caused him to throw 15 more pitches. And Guillen 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. He has struck out 7 times in the series. Just 4 hits in 6 innings against Jared Weaver. Here's today's Cabot Woodstain's legendary performance. And back in 1995, 15 years ago, Pedro Martinez for the Expos, a perfect game through 9 innings, but allows a double in the 10th. Montreal beats San Diego 1-0, and that was an important game because that was something where they had to look at the rule book and decide a 9-inning perfect game, but then you give up a run in the 10th. Is that a perfect game? And the rules were modified as such that they decided that, first of all, you have to go at least 9 innings. As Kyle Farnsworth takes over in the 7th inning and our Chevy call to the bullpen. So a pitcher is not credited with a no-hitter if he is on the losing end and only goes 8 innings. That is not a no-hitter. So if the visiting team loses somehow without allowing a hit, that doesn't count. And even though Pedro Martinez had 9 perfect innings, enough outs for a regulation perfect game, it's not considered a perfect game because he has to finish that particular game without allowing any base runners for a perfect game or any hits for a no-hitter. So that was something that was discussed quite a bit 15 years ago today. Kyle Farnsworth a couple of days ago left the bullpen in the middle of the game because he had a back spasm. But it didn't last very long. He was available last night. The Royals didn't use him, and he's all right today. But I'm sure a little bit of concern the way he stumbled off the mound after that last pitch. 3 balls and 2 strikes on Torrey Hunter. Torrey with 2 home runs, 5 RBIs in the series. Hit a 2-run home run in the 5th inning and his 3rd career home run against Zach Greinke. So the best that Zach can hope for today is a no decision, giving up 3 runs in 6 innings. And once again, the Royals giving him no support when he is on the mound. That's the 3rd straight start. Even though the Royals scored 7 runs a couple of Sundays ago, they scored 0 in the 3 1/3 he was in there. And then they were shut out by the Red Sox on Saturday, and no runs for him today. Good start for Farnsworth. 1 away in the 7th inning. The last time the Royals gave Zach Greinke runs of support when he was in there, you have to go back to May 18th. That was at Baltimore. Zach gave up 4 hits in 7 innings, 2 earned runs, and the Royals lost that game 4-3. Hideki Matsui has walked and singled twice. Take a look at that last swing from Torrey Hunter against Farnsworth.
It looked like a slider that backed up on him, right? He went to pull through this swing, and on that follow through, when he tried to finish high, the weight of that bat and that torque on that bat probably stretched his shoulder just a little bit.
Looks like he's sitting and talking to the trainer in the Angels dugout. The Angels, in addition to their numbers being down on offense, defense, and on the mound, they have had 9 different transactions already this year that have involved a player going on the disabled list. Three balls and 2 strikes. Kyle Farnsworth against Hideki Matsui, known as Godzilla in Japan. How about that for a nickname?
Is that because he hit so many home runs?
He has a very interesting take on it. You know, over here in the United States, we see the Godzilla cartoons and the movie, and just some lizard-looking thing going through downtown, smashing buildings, stepping on cars, pulling airplanes out of the sky. Well, Matsui says in Japan, Godzilla is actually very humble. He's very kind. He goes around breaking things and stepping on people, but the heart of Godzilla is very pure and very humble.
Breathe a little fire. Yeah. Breathe a little fire on you. It's nice to be able to see through all that.
Yeah.
All that fury.
This is how he's introduced in L.A. But he's very pure and he's very humble.
It's pretty ingenious.
Torrey Hunter had a great line about it. He said after Matsui had a big game early in the year, he said, Matsui is Godzilla. He's Godzilla of Japan. He's Godzilla of New York. He's Godzilla of Los Angeles, and then he stopped himself and said, Hideki Matsui is the Los Angeles Godzilla of Anaheim. You know, but if you think about it, you know, our Godzilla, King Kong, he did some damage, but we found out that he had a tender side to him, right?
He just wanted to go home.
They'd take the pretty lady with him.
Oh, it's a perfume
right?
thing, you know?
Was it?
I guess. I don't know. They made a romantic story out of it.
I mean, in the end, it was kind of sad when King Kong died.
Sure.
Even though he killed 20 billion people and did about $19 trillion in damage. Nice play by Getz. And as Frank has told us so many times, that's a play that looks easy for a second baseman, but it isn't. Coming up on Tuesday, June the 15th, the Royals will be giving the first 20,000 fans a Royals t-shirt presented by Sprint. This will be the third of 7 t-shirt Tuesdays. So get your tickets now so you can collect all 7. That's the Royals and the Astros at 7:10. And a very quick homestand for the Royals. They will come home and play the Houston Astros for 3 and go right back out on the road.
Yeah, Ryan, those plays are tough for shortstop and second baseman because you have to run at an angle and you're running down the line and try to make these plays. It's probably equivalent of an outfielder going in the alley and making a long run to make a catch. So you cover a lot of ground in a short period of time.
0-2 to Rob Quinlan. Farnsworth has a scoreless 7th inning with a couple of strikeouts. Stretch time at Kauffman Stadium. Ejected early in the game today by home plate umpire Mike Estabrook. Another controversial game for him with the Royals. Torrey Hunter with another home run, his second in the last 2 games. He has driven in 5 in the last 2. And Zach Greinke with no runs of support in his last 20 innings. He is able to go 6 today, gives up 3 runs, 10 hits. And the Royals against Jared Weaver, no runs, 4 hits in 6 innings. Torrey Hunter does return to center field. It appeared that he tweaked his left shoulder after striking out against Kyle Farnsworth in the top of the 7th. 1-2 on Alberto Callaspo. 0 for 2 so far. And after getting 3 hits in game 1 of the series, he has been hitless since. Mitch Meyer after him, and then Yuniesky Betancourt. Two and 2. 9 strikeouts for Weaver. That is the second most this year against Tampa Bay. Back on May the 12th, he struck out 12. Left center field, Willits wants it coming over from left. 1 down. Now Panera will take us around the American League, where the Yankees have defeated the Orioles. The Orioles now have lost 8 in a row. Yankees have won 5 straight. And Detroit blasting Cleveland 12-6 a day after the controversial missed call at first base last night. Oakland in front of Boston. The Angels are chasing Oakland. They're a game and a half behind them in the West and 2.5 behind Texas. One strike on Mitch Meyer. He has struck out twice against Jared Weaver. So Mitch trying to snap out of an 0 for 11.
Mitch has had a hard time picking that changeup up from Jared Weaver. And then he gets to hit him with that. Then he gets to hit him with the changeup, and then he tried to throw that borderline fastball and get that check swing. A couple of Mitch's swings on those changeup, he's ended up holding the bat with one hand.
2 balls and 1 strike. Weaver is at 105 pitches. And they're just now starting to get busy out in the bullpen. He has only had 2 innings where he's gone over 20 pitches. Three balls, 2 strikes. That's the pitch that Mitch Meyer's been waiting for all day.
He's just done a real good job of adding and subtracting from his fastball to his off-speed pitches and 2 different types of curveballs.
Ibar using his hand and his glove to shade his eyes from the sun. 2 down. This week on Fox Saturday Baseball, Prince Fielder and the Brewers take on Albert Pujols and the Cardinals in a showdown between National League Central rivals. Fox Saturday Baseball presented by Chevy returns this week at 3 p.m. Central. So Weaver 1 out away from 7 scoreless innings. Fouled away by Yuniesky Betancourt. Betancourt on base after an error by shortstop Eric Ibar in the 3rd inning, and then doubled into the left field corner in the 5th as Kevin Jepson appears to be done warming up, just waiting for the call if that happens this inning. Weaver about to throw his 110th pitch, and he just missed inside. And now pull to Ibar. So Weaver has a 1-2-3 7th inning, and he has retired the last 8. after Zach Greinke gave up 3 in his 6, and now another Chevy call to the bullpen. Robinson Tejeda, who has really been on a roll lately. He'll get the 8, 9, and 1 hitters in the top of the 8th. Tejeda has given up just 1 earned run in his last 18 and a third innings. So his ERA is at 4.39. Before the streak, it was 12.96. The Royals made a roster move before today's game. They have claimed off of waivers pitcher Kanakoa Teixeira, who was pitching with the Seattle Mariners. He was a Rule 5 pick, so the Royals inherit the Rule 5 status, and that means when he joins the Royals, he must stay with the big league club or be offered back to his original organization. And the Royals have designated Brad Thompson for assignment. Teixeira is not related to Mark Teixeira. Kanakoa Teixeira is from Hawaii. Mark Teixeira is from the other tropical paradise, Annapolis, Maryland. 3-0 on Kevin Franzen.
Robbie's last time out, Ryan, he was just devastating. Inning in 2/3. No hits, a couple strikeouts, just good hard fastballs down to the outside corner of the plate. And came in with runners on second and third and held the game right there. Just did an outstanding job in his outing.
Franzen with a good day and a good series. Three balls, 2 strikes. Kevin Franzen is from San Jose. He's the all-time hits leader at San Jose State, and he grew up as a big Giants fan, drafted by the Giants, got to the big leagues with the Giants, and then was in spring training with the Red Sox this year, and was claimed off of waivers at the end of April. And now in limited playing time with the Angels, he is 13 for 28. That's 464. And he hits that ball hard, but out. So 2 for 4 today, but 3 pretty good swings. Well, Royals Alumni Fantasy Camp is back. You can join George Brett, Frank White, Brett Saberhagen, and many others in Surprise, Arizona this February. This is your chance to enter the world of Major League Baseball and live your dream to play with the Royals alumni. Fantasy Camp includes 2 personalized uniforms, your own clubhouse locker, an awards banquet, baseball cards, a camp video, and much more. Call 816-504-4150 or go to Royals.com for more information. Reggie Willits 1 for 3 with a double. No balls, 2 strikes. By the way, talking about Kanakoa Teixeira, the pitcher that the Royals just picked up off of waivers from the Mariners, his original club is the Yankees. So the Mariners took Teixeira from the Yankees in the Rule 5 pick, and now they're off the hook. And Teixeira belongs to the Royals. 2 down. First strikeout for Tejeda, and it's the 9th strikeout for the Royals pitching staff today. Zach Greinke was 6. Kyle Farnsworth had 2. And of course, the Major League Rule 5 means that you can select a player from another organization, but you have to keep him on the big league 25-man roster all season. And the only way you can send him down to the minor leagues, first you have to offer him back to the original club, and the club can decline, and you can send the player to the minor leagues, or sometimes they'll work out a trade so you can keep that player in the system and send him down to the minor leagues. You know, I discovered the other day Ned Yost was a Rule 5 player. That's how he went from the Mets to the Brewers. We'll have to ask him about that sometime, that big jump from the lower levels of the minor leagues to the big leagues.
If I'm not mistaken, he was a #1 draft choice too, wasn't he?
He was a first-round pick of the Mets, I think, in the old secondary phase. Remember that January secondary phase? That was in 1974 by the Mets. As Ibar walks with 2 outs. And now Howie Kendrick.
When you take guys in Rule 5, you got to definitely see some upside in adding him to your roster. You always see something that somebody else doesn't see. Maybe something that you can get out of a guy that you feel like he's not getting. And then if your team is not strong enough to support that Rule 5 guy, then that's another reason they get rid of Rule 5 guys.
There was no getting rid of that guy.
Nope.
Behind that green screen is Joakim Soria.
Well, that's a Rule 5 guy that came in and made an impact.
Now, Howie Kendrick has been clobbering the ball all over the field today. But the scorecard says he is 0 for 4 with an RBI. Royals pitch out as Ibar has stolen 2 bases today. Howie Kendrick has lined to center twice. One of the plays, Mitch Meyer made a sliding play. He has lined to right. And he has rolled into a fielder's choice, driving in a run. And Ibar is running. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cheers in the lower level, boos in the club level. That foul ball was boxed around and dropped down below. Howie Kendrick, 10th round pick of the Angels back in '02, out of a junior college in Florida. Wasn't even drafted out of high school and quickly became one of the best hitting prospects in the minor leagues, not just for the Angels, but all teams. Ibar runs and Kendrick strikes out. So 2 strikeouts for Tejeda, and that's 10 today for the Royals, but they're down 4-0.
time immediately following the game, Paul Splittorff and myself will have Boulevard Royals live from Rivals out in right field. We will talk about Zack Greinke. What worked, what did not work for him today. Again, a lack of run support. See if we can get to the bottom of why that is happening. We'll hear from Ned Yost. We will head down to the clubhouse. And maybe we'll even see Patrick, who is waving nicely to us today, along with his son, guys.
And Colin with his nice blue Royals helmet. I remember when I was a kid and go by the concession stands in the ballparks, and they would have all the helmets for all the teams. And awesome. I just imagine having those in my room and going, wow, helmet day was a big deal. So Kevin Jepson gets the 8th inning after the Royals come up with just 4 hits and 6 base runners total in 7 innings against Jared Weaver.
Well, Weaver's done an outstanding job of adding and subtracting on his fastball, mixing in his changeup and curveball, 2 different speeds on his curveball, and just moving the fastball in and out on raw hitters.
.98, just a little bit low. Jepson pitched on Monday afternoon, Memorial Day, and the Angels' 7-1 win. And in that game, he pitched the 8th inning after Irvin Santana gave up 1 run in 7. And Jepson struck out the side. Pasednik, Aviles, and DeJesus. 3-1 on Chris Getz. 1 for 2 today with a 5th inning single. So in his 2 starts, Chris is 3 for 5. Ooh. A delayed strike call, and it's 3-2.
When you're really struggling and you're trying to force the pitcher to throw you a strike, and you think that that's going to be a ball, and you look at it on Fox Tracks, and it's that strike at the top of the strike zone that the umpires don't call very often.
That is a leadoff walk. Well, the Angels haven't helped the Royals at all today. That's just the 2nd walk. The Angels did commit an error in the 3rd inning. So in 7 innings plus 1 batter, only 3 free bases. And the Royals down by 4. Leadoff man on to Scott Pasednik. Singled in the 3rd inning, and he struck out twice against Weaver. 0-1. Weaver ends up with 9 strikeouts in his 7 scoreless innings, trying to win for the first time in almost a month. Hasn't won since May the 7th at Seattle. That was also a shutout victory. 1 ball, 1 strike. Sednick on Monday afternoon struck out against Jepson. That's his 2nd at bat. First time up, singled against him. And just past Ibar and into left field. So a good start with 2 on and nobody out.
Sammy did a real good job on his high fastball. He just pulled his hands right down on top of the ball. Didn't try to do too much with it and drove it past Ibar and shortstop. But you see the hands, bat right down on top of the ball. Nice line drive to left field.
So leadoff walk to Getz and a single to Pasednik. And now pitching coach Mike Butcher is out there. Jepson has really improved this year against left-hand pitchers, and he has his pitching coach to thank. Mike Butcher taught him how to throw a cut fastball this year, which has allowed him to get in on the left-hand batters. And great numbers, 175, but that was before this inning. As Getz walked and Posednik singled, and now a right-hand batter in Jason Kendall. And just watching his fastball today, pretty good with velocity, 95 to 97, but it's looking pretty straight.
It's pretty straight, and it's up too, Ryan. It's very in that hittable zone, and you got to get it down, more down angle with it, and he leaves the ball. If right-handers hitters are hitting him very well, it means he's leaving the ball in the middle to middle end and giving him a chance to get to the ball. But he can't get the ball to the outside part of the plate. But like you say, that fastball's got to have a little movement on it in order to be successful.
1-2 to Kendall. Jepson, a second-round pick of the Angels in 2002, the year they won the World Series. He played on the U.S. Olympic team in 2008 in China. Made his major league debut that September. And that gets through Napoli, but for the second time in the series, he gets a perfect bounce right back to him. This time he can't do anything with it, and the Royals move up. All year, that has happened twice here at Kauffman Stadium, and both times with Mike Napoli behind the plate.
I mean, it scoots right between his legs, hit the bar in the right spot, and even end up on the third base side of the batter's box where they have a clean throw to third base.
So second and third and nobody out. 2-2 to Kendall. And that'll get one run home and put another runner at third base. Kendall drives in Chris Getz. It's a 4-1 game. And for Kendall, his 12th RBI of the year.
I just taking what the pitcher's giving you right there. All the infielders are back and just hitting a ground ball just to get that run in and get one over. That's a good piece of hitting.
And now first and third, and David DeJesus for the fourth time today. David 1 for 3, but both of his outs were well hit against Jared Weaver, one of the few Royals today who had good swings against Weaver. And a curveball is in for strike one. Through the left side, and it's a 4-2 game, and that means the tying run will come to the plate with one out in the eighth inning. 23 RBIs for David DeJesus.
You know, David really didn't do too much here, Ryan. Just saw the pitch outside and just went right with the pitch.
Here's a familiar face, Fernando Rodney, now at the Angels, coming in. Run of the inning, and the Royals scoreless in 7 innings against Jared Weaver. Jason Kendall getting a run home with a ground out, and David DeJesus with a base hit through the left side.
Well, he did a good job here, Ryan. He looked like he was looking for something inside, and the ball was outside. He didn't have much of a hip turn to it. Most of it just all hands on this ball. Just hitting where it was pitched.
So Fernando Rodney, he has 5 saves this year. And Brian Fuentes, the team leader, has 6. So kind of like a co-closer situation. Rodney last year with the Tigers had a career high 37. He was a free agent. The Tigers decided not to re-sign him. And it was a little bit of a surprise when Rodney signed with the Angels, not guaranteed to be the closer. Originally going to be the 8th inning man for Fuentes. And he's gotten his opportunities to close out games. Now he's trying to close out the 8th. DeJesus at first with 1 out. And Billy Butler representing the tying run. And Billy pulls it fair. Franzen fields down to second, out to first, double play. Who in the world is Kevin Franzen? To a great play at third base by Kevin Franzen, who is having a great series.
Well, you had a great play on that backhand, but look at this double play. Unbelievable double play right here. Howie Kendrick hung in there on this double play. David did a great job getting down here. You see how he just takes the weight shift back to first base and does a great job on this double play. Yeah, David goes right across the base, very aggressive. Howie Kendrick does a great job. Just collapsing on top of him. Got a good weight shift, a good throw off. Both guys did a great job there. That's where you want to see you guys go into second base.
Man, that's been a great pickup for the Angels. Franzen excellent on defense. That's a second outstanding play he has made. Almost identical plays. He made a similar play on Jason Kendall in the 5th inning. No double play, just a force out at second base. And then at the plate, Franzen has a couple of hits and has driven in a run. So Blake Wood in the top of the 9th inning with Bobby Abreu, Torrey Hunter, and Hideki Matsui coming up. Down on 3 pitches. That's 11 strikeouts for Royals pitchers today. So 1 away, and now Torrey Hunter. He's responsible for today's Chevrolet play of the game.
That was back in the 5th inning. He picked on a pitch out over the plate from Zach Greinke and got all of it, Ryan. He drove this ball into the water fountain in left center field.
Torrey also struck out twice against Zach. That ball's hit pretty hard to left center field. Mitch Meyer won't get there. And it is off the wall, and Meyer plays it on one bounce, but he'll go to third base. And Torrey Hunter with his 7th hit of the series. So apparently he was not injured at all when he struck out in the 7th inning against Kyle Farnsworth. Looked like he may have tweaked his left shoulder. He's still kind of trying to move it around and keep it loose.
Yeah, a lot of times when you get through a swing and you try to finish high and you let go with your top hand, now all the pressure goes to your left arm. And now you can get a little twinge in the shoulder. But I tell you, whatever he had didn't hurt him on that swing. That 95-mile-an-hour fastball just turned it around.
Ball 1 to Hideki Matsui. On base 4 times, 2 walks, 2 singles. One and one. 6 innings from Zach Greinke. Gave up 3 runs, 10 hits. A scoreless 7th for Kyle Farnsworth, a scoreless 8th for Robinson Tejeda. And now Blake Wood trying to keep the Angels at 4 in the top of the 9th. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Yeah, Blake's got a lot of good run to his sinker. Right now he's just throwing at the outside corner and it's running off the plate, and it's not really enticing enough to Matsui. If you get more of the plate and then just let it run down and away, a lot of times you get a left-handed hitter to roll over on that ball and get an easy ground ball.
Missed the corner, 3-1.
See, that's almost like it's a ball right out of his hand, and he sees that right away. So he just needs to kind of let that sinker, I talked to Gooby about it, let that sinker go right to the middle of the plate and let it dive down, and then let it, just trust it. Trust that it's going to do what it needs to do for you.
Three and two. Ed Yost yesterday dusting off an old baseball term and describing Blake Wood's sinker as a 2-seamer with teeth. Haven't heard that one in a while. Like it comes in and just chews up the bat.
I heard that one.
And Matsui lines it to left, but 1 hop to Posednik. So Hunter has to hold at third. And runners at the corners with 1 out. And Matsui continues his perfect day. That's his 3rd hit to go with a couple of walks.
It's like when hitters hit the ball square, like Matsui does right here, he just stays, this ball stays up a little bit for him and had a chance to get his arms extended. And they, like I say, hit it so hard that the run had to hold at third base. But they don't say when you hit a ball like, just take that ball that Torrey Hunter hit, and he would come back to the bench and he would say something like, well, I'll put a face on that ball. You see the commercials where they see the baseball going out of the ballpark, the ball screaming.
Mike Napoli 0 for 4. And the Royals need that sinker to result in a double play. Napoli is grounded out, lined out, struck out, popped out.
Yeah, Blake Wood would love to get out of this inning unhurt, and Royals only have to try to make up 2 runs to try to get back in this ball game.
Oh and 2.
They try to run that sinker down in on the hands of Mike Napoli. But he's got that uppercut swing, so if you're going to do that, you got to kind of get it up a little bit and try to get it on his hands. If it stays down around his knees and hangs in the middle lane, he's got a chance to get to that pitch.
Napoli choking up on the bat a little bit with 2 strikes. And lines it to center field. Meyer going to heave it to the plate. But Torrey Hunter is in there, and it's 5-2. So Matsui at first base with 2 down. And Rob Quinlan with his second plate appearance struck out against Farnsworth in the 7th inning. Michael Ryan started the game at first base, mostly an outfielder, getting a chance to play there with Kendry Morales on the disabled list. Quinlan has more experience at first base. So for the second time in 4 games, he has come on late for defense. And 2.
Yeah, that was a big run for the Angels to pick up right there. They Ross going to the 9th inning and only need to get 2 to tie. That's a lot easier than that 3rd run. Kind of makes it a little bit more difficult. They're still in the game, but he's got to shut it down right here.
One and 2 to Quinlan. Mike Socha and the Angels trying to win their 6th consecutive series against the Royals. A 2-1 advantage in this one and a 5-2 lead in the 9th inning. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th, the Royals will have Jose Guillen, Alberto Callaspo, and Mitch Meyer. And Brian Fuentes, the side-arming lefty, is warming up in the Angel bullpen. To Callaspo. So the inning is over, but the Angels had a run, and the Royals are down by 3 to the bottom of the 9th. Splits. Before we get to the bottom of the 9th, here's today's Miller Lite Taste Greatness moment.
Willis trying to sacrifice and got the ball out in front of plate. Jason Kendall bounced on it and threw out Franzen at second base. And here he comes up with a nice throw to catch Willis trying to steal second base.
So Brian Fuentes, he has saved 6, but he has blown 3. He has an ERA just a few ticks below 5. So a high ERA, a very low opponent's batting average at .216, and normally that points to some free base runners. Fuentes, however, has only walked 4 in 12 2/3 innings. He has hit a batter. Jose Guillen thrilled that Weaver is no longer in the game. Takes ball 1. Weaver struck him out 3 times, and Jared Weaver had 9 in his 7 innings, and that's the second highest total for him this year. Two balls and no strikes. Royals didn't score a single run in 7 innings against Weaver. It came up with 2 in the bottom of the 8th inning, charged to Kevin Jepson. 3 balls and no strikes. Fuentes with that very unique and odd delivery, dropping down to the side from the left side. A 4-pitch walk. Fuentes is one of those guys that's had some big years as a closer, but a lot of his saves are uncomfortable saves. Base runners, long counts, and he's got the dugout on edge. Doesn't have very many of those anticlimactic 1-2-3, 3 up, 3 down innings. Usually is dealing with base runners, but last year had 48 saves for the Angels, and that led the major leagues. Now he's missed with 5 straight. 48 saves was big for Fuentes because he had some huge shoes to fill. 2 years ago, Francisco Rodriguez had 62 saves, a major league record. 1-1 to Callaspo, and then Francisco Rodriguez moved on as a free agent to the Mets. Fuentes coming over from the Rockies, so he needed to have a big year, and he did. One ball, 2 strikes to Callaspo, who is 0 for 3.
Well, Fuentes really doesn't come inside a lot, Ryan. He tries to work off the corner. He's got that lower arm, 3/4 arm slot, and so if he started at the corner, like again, the ball's a ball right out of his hand. The guys that want to make the ball run, they got to get the ball on the plate to make it enticing to the hitter.
Fuentes has been on the disabled list this year with a back problem. That was in the middle of April. And that's the 3rd time since 2004 he's had back troubles. 3 balls, 2 strikes. And the lower the arm drops, sorry, Frank, the less stress on the arm. But it's interesting how a lot of sidearm guys, submarine guys, have back problems.
Yeah, and they throw up right a lot of times, you know, and it just, with Fuentes here, it's just a lot of deep counts, you know, and that's what you say about getting the manager on edge.
Callaspo knew he was out before Mike Esterbrook said anything, so a walk and a strikeout, and 1 away for Fuentes in the 9th. And with Mitch Meyer coming up, the Royals will go with Willie Bloomquist to bat from the right side. Willie last night was 1 for 4. But he left his mark out in center field with 3 very good plays. Willie is 1 out of 5 against Brian Fuentes.
Well, if Fuentes stays outside, Willie's pretty good at going to the right side, and there's a hole up and over there. It's been closed a little bit, but it's still there for him. He's still got enough room to hit a ball in the right field.
Quinlan trying to plug up that hole a little bit by playing off the bag in front of Guillen. And Bloomquist in the left field. That's deep. Willits is back. All the way back, and Bloomquist makes it a 1-run game. It's 5-4 Angels thanks to Willie Boom Boom.
I'd say what he's picked on a fastball in inner half and really turned on it. He's really been swinging the bat well lately. You see how fast he got his hands through the zone, and he knew right away this ball was out of here. And he's got to think back to that extra run now that the Angels were able to pick up. It makes a big difference.
Fuentes started all this with a 4-pitch walk to Jose Guillen, who had been 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts and 2 for 13 in the series. Then he struck out Callaspo and allows the 2-run home run to Bloomquist. So now Yuniesky Betancourt. Ball 1 high and away. Betancourt 1 for 3 with a double. Mike Aviles in the on-deck circle. He'll bat for Chris Getz. 2-0. Betancourt is 0 for 3 against Fuentes with a strikeout. That was ball 3.
Yeah, you really have to be patient right here. You got a guy that's really struggling, and you got him in the hole, but you got to get your pitch. You just can't chase that ball off the plate like that with 2 balls, no strikes.
Now 2-2. Ryan Fuentes describes his pitching delivery, throwing a ball like skipping stones on water. Popped up, back and out of play. So the Royals without a single run in the first 7 innings against Jared Weaver. They got 2 in the 8th inning off of Jepson, and now 2 in the 9th against Fuentes. So Weaver sweating this one out in the clubhouse, trying to win his 5th game of the year. And that's drilled into deep center field, but Torrey Hunter was playing deep. All the Angels outfielders trying to avoid an extra base hit. And now it'll be Mike Aviles with 2 down. So the pinch hitter for Mitch Meyer hit a 2-run home run to make it a 1-run game, and now the pinch hitter for Chris Getz. Mike Aviles 0 for 3 last night. He is 0 for his last 12. Down and in for ball 1. Aviles facing Brian Fuentes for the first time. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Mike had a real good swing at that fastball. He'd probably like to get that same pitch back again.
Two balls and 1 strike.
One thing about Fuentes, though, Ryan, he keeps the hitters in a hitting count. You know, whether or not they get the pitch they want to hit, but he's always seemed like he's behind in the count.
And now it's 2-2. Royals have had just 1 losing series in their last 6. That was against the Rockies. Otherwise, they have won 2 series, split 3, and now trying to split it with the Angels. 3-2 with Scott Podsednik on deck. Off it, so the tying run is at first base with 2 down, and the winning run coming to the plate. Fuentes has walked 2 in the inning, and just as Bill, he does not have many easy saves.
Wow, that's got to be hard on the manager to go through this every night. If your team is playing well, and he's got to be out there and he's got to put you on the edge of your seat every night. I don't know, maybe he's got some magic pills for his stomach or something.
Now, Scott Posednik has hung in there pretty well against Fuentes. He is 2 for 4 with a double. And a big breaking ball is in for strike one. At the plate today, Scott is 2 out of 4. He scored in the 8th inning and now has a 6-game hitting streak, trying to get back to 300. He is at 296. 1-1.
He's gone primarily with the breaking ball. You have to wonder if he can get his fastball to the outside corner to the lefties. And if he can leave it in the middle, that'll be an advantage to Scott Posednik.
One ball, 2 strikes.
Well, I think he just answered my question on this pitch here, right? Lower, outside corner, knee high.
Got him looking over the corner, and Posednik didn't bother to argue. So again, it's a save for Fuentes, not an easy save. The Royals get 2 in the 9th.